Beneath the marble columns and golden statues of ancient Rome lies a world shrouded in shadows, where power, betrayal, and mystery intertwine in ways that history books often overlook. What if I told you that the grandeur of Rome, the empire that shaped the modern world, was built on secrets so dark they could rival the most chilling tales of fiction? From poisonings in the imperial palace to the blood-soaked sands of the Colosseum, the Roman Empire was a place where ambition knew no bounds and morality was often sacrificed for power. In this video, we'll uncover 25 of the most shocking and hidden secrets of ancient Rome, secrets that reveal the empire's true nature, a place of both unparalleled glory and unspeakable darkness. So, are you ready to step into the shadows and explore the untold stories of one of history's most powerful civilizations? Stay with us, because by the end of this journey, you'll see ancient Rome in a light you've never imagined. Now turning to the first dark secret of ancient Rome, we delve into the infamous poisonings that plagued the empire. Poison was not just a weapon of the desperate or the vengeful. It was a tool of power wielded by the elite to eliminate rivals, secure thrones, and manipulate the course of history. Among the most notorious cases was the poisoning of Emperor Claudius, a plot allegedly orchestrated by his own wife, Agrippina. Desperate to see her son, Nero, ascend to power, Agrippina is said to have enlisted the help of Locusta, Rome's most infamous poison expert. Locusta, a name that struck fear into the hearts of many, was a master of her craft, concocting deadly mixtures that left no trace. Her services were in high demand among the Roman elite, who saw poison as a discreet and effective way to achieve their ambitions. But poison wasn't just a personal vendetta, it was a political strategy. Emperors, senators, and even generals used it to silence enemies, consolidate power, and maintain control over an empire that thrived on intrigue. The use of poison reveals a chilling truth about ancient Rome. In the pursuit of power, morality was often the first casualty. As we uncover more secrets, you'll see how this dark practice was just the beginning of Rome's descent into its shadowy underbelly. Now turning to the second dark secret of ancient Rome, we uncover the shadowy world of the Cult of Bacchus and its infamous Bacchanalia festivals. Dedicated to Bacchus, the god of wine, fertility, and ecstasy, these rituals began as spiritual ceremonies meant to honor the deity and celebrate the cycles of nature. However, over time, the Bacchanalia transformed into something far more sinister. What started as gatherings of devotion soon devolved into wild, unrestrained orgies, where participants indulged in excessive drinking, debauchery, and acts of violence. Rumors of criminal activities, including theft, blackmail, and even murder, began to swirl around these secretive gatherings. The cult's practices became so scandalous that they caught the attention of the Roman Senate, which viewed them as a threat to the moral and social order of the empire. In 186 BC, the Senate launched a brutal crackdown, outlawing the Bacchanalia and arresting or executing many of its followers. The suppression of the cult was swift and severe, but the mystery surrounding its rituals and the true extent of its activities has endured for centuries. Some historians believe the Bacchanalia were a form of rebellion against the rigid structure of Roman society, while others see them as a dark reflection of the empire's own excesses. Whatever the truth, the Cult of Bacchus remains one of ancient Rome's most enigmatic and unsettling secrets, a reminder of how easily spirituality can descend into chaos. As we move forward, the next secret will reveal yet another layer of Rome's hidden darkness. Now turning to the third dark secret of ancient Rome, we step into the brutal and often tragic world of Roman gladiators. These fighters, both celebrated and exploited, were more than just entertainers. They were symbols of power, courage, and the darker side of Roman society. Gladiators were typically slaves, prisoners of war, or criminals, forced into a life of combat for the amusement of the masses. Their training was grueling, often taking place in specialized schools where they were drilled in the use of weapons and combat techniques. These schools were harsh environments designed to break down the individual and mold them into efficient killing machines. The gladiatorial games themselves were a spectacle of violence and bloodshed, held in massive arenas like the Colosseum. Crowds would cheer as gladiators fought to the death, their lives hanging in the balance with every swing of a sword. But these games were not just about entertainment, they were deeply political. Emperors and politicians used them to gain favor with the public, distracting citizens from the empire's problems with the promise of thrilling combat. The games were also a way to demonstrate Rome's dominance, showcasing the empire's ability to control life and death. While most gladiators were men, there were also female gladiators known as gladiatrices. These women, though rare, fought in the arena, challenging societal norms and expectations. Their presence added an extra layer of intrigue to the games, but their lives were just as perilous as their male counterparts. Beyond the physical dangers, gladiators faced a heavy psychological toll. The constant threat of death, the pressure to perform, and the loss of personal freedom weighed heavily on their minds. Many gladiators lived short, brutal lives, their stories ending in the sand of the arena. The world of Roman gladiators is a stark reminder of the empire's contradictions. A society that celebrated bravery and skill, yet exploited and discarded those who embodied it. As we move forward, the next secret will delve even deeper into the shadows of ancient Rome, uncovering another layer of its hidden darkness. Now turning to the fourth dark secret of ancient Rome, we uncover the eerie and unsettling practice of depictions or cursed tablets. These small lead tablets were used by Romans to invoke supernatural harm on their enemies, a chilling reminder of how deeply superstition and fear were woven into the fabric of daily life. The tablets were inscribed with curses, often targeting rivals in love, business, or politics, and were then rolled, folded, or pierced with nails before being buried in graves, wells, or other places believed to be gateways to the underworld. This act was thought to deliver the curse to the gods or spirits who would carry out the desired punishment. One of the most fascinating aspects of these cursed tablets is their personal and often vengeful nature. Archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of these tablets across the Roman Empire, each one offering a glimpse into the private grievances and fears of ordinary people. For example, a tablet discovered in modern-day Britain curses a thief, demanding that the gods inflict pain and suffering until the stolen property is returned. Another, found in Italy, calls for the destruction of a rival in love, pleading with the gods to ensure the target's heart is turned to stone. The language used on these tablets is often raw and emotional, revealing the desperation and anger of those who created them. The practice of depictions highlights the darker side of Roman spirituality, where the line between religion and magic was often blurred. While the Roman state promoted official religious practices, many individuals turned to these secretive and illicit methods to seek justice or revenge. The cursed tablets also reflect the widespread belief in the power of the written word, as well as the idea that the gods could be compelled to act on behalf of mortals. As we move forward, the next secret will take us deeper into the shadows of ancient Rome, revealing yet another layer of its hidden and often unsettling history. Now turning to the fifth dark secret of ancient Rome, we delve into the brutal and dehumanizing world of Roman slavery. Slavery was not just a part of Roman society, it was its backbone, with millions of enslaved people forced into lives of unimaginable hardship. From the grand villas of the elite to the dark, suffocating mines, slavery touched every corner of the empire, shaping its economy, culture, and daily life. Enslaved people in Rome were treated as property, stripped of their humanity, and subjected to relentless labor. In households, they served as cooks, cleaners, tutors, and even personal attendants, often living in close quarters with their masters. Yet their lives were far from comfortable. They could be beaten, sold, or even killed at their owner's whim with no legal rights to protect them. Outside the home, conditions were even worse. Enslaved laborers toiled in fields under the scorching sun, worked in dangerous mines where life expectancy was shockingly low, or were forced into grueling construction projects, building the very monuments that celebrated Rome's glory. One of the most infamous chapters in Roman slavery was the revolt led by Spartacus, a former gladiator who rallied thousands of enslaved people in a desperate bid for freedom. For 2 years, Spartacus and his followers defied the might of Rome, winning battles and striking fear into the hearts of the elite. Though the rebellion was ultimately crushed, it exposed the fragility of a system built on the exploitation of human lives. The revolt also highlighted the deep-seated fear among the Roman elite that their slaves might one day rise against them, a fear that led to even harsher punishments and tighter controls. Yet, despite its cruelty, Roman society was utterly dependent on slavery. Enslaved labor fueled the empire's economy, from agriculture to manufacturing, and even the wealthiest citizens relied on slaves to maintain their lavish lifestyles. This dependence created a paradox. While Romans prided themselves on their civilization and order, their society was built on the suffering of millions. The dark side of Roman slavery reveals not only the brutality of the system, but also the moral contradictions of an empire that celebrated freedom and justice while denying it to so many. As we move forward, the next secret will take us deeper into the shadows of ancient Rome, uncovering yet another layer of its hidden and often unsettling history. Now turning to the sixth dark secret of ancient Rome, we uncover the baffling mystery of the Ninth Legion, one of the empire's most renowned military units that vanished without a trace. The Ninth Legion, known as the Legio Nona Hispana, was a formidable force that had fought in some of Rome's most significant campaigns, from the conquest of Britain to battles across the empire. Yet, around the 2nd century, this once proud legion disappeared from historical records, leaving behind a mystery that has puzzled historians and archaeologists for centuries. Theories about the fate of the Ninth Legion are as varied as they are intriguing. One of the most widely debated possibilities is that the legion was annihilated in battle, possibly during a campaign in northern Britain. The region was a hotbed of resistance, with tribes like the Caledonians fiercely opposing Roman rule. Some historians suggest that the Ninth Legion marched into the wilds of Scotland and was ambushed, wiped out to the last man. Others propose that the legion may have been sent to quell a rebellion elsewhere in the empire, only to meet a similar fate. Another theory points to the possibility of desertion or mutiny. Life in the Roman legions was harsh, with soldiers enduring grueling marches, brutal discipline, and the constant threat of death. It's possible that the Ninth Legion, disillusioned or overwhelmed, chose to abandon their posts, disappearing into the wilderness or blending into local populations. This theory, while less dramatic, raises questions about the loyalty and morale of Roman soldiers, especially those stationed in distant, hostile territories. Perhaps the most tantalizing theory is that the Ninth Legion was reassigned to a remote corner of the empire, only to be forgotten by history. Some evidence suggests that elements of the legion may have been sent to the eastern provinces, where they could have been absorbed into other units or lost in the chaos of regional conflicts. This theory, however, remains speculative, as no definitive records have been found to confirm their fate. The disappearance of the Ninth Legion has captured the imagination of historians and storytellers alike, inspiring countless books, films, and debates. Its vanishing act serves as a reminder of the fragility of even the mightiest institutions and the enduring allure of unsolved mysteries. As we move forward, the next secret will take us deeper into the shadows of ancient Rome, revealing yet another layer of its complex and often unsettling history. Now turning to the seventh dark secret of ancient Rome, we delve into the scandalous and often bizarre lives of Roman emperors, whose personal excesses and eccentricities left an indelible mark on the empire. These rulers, wielding absolute power, often indulged in behaviors that ranged from the shocking to the outright bizarre, revealing a darker side to the imperial throne. Take, for example, Caligula, whose reign is often remembered for its descent into madness. Though initially popular, Caligula's rule took a dramatic turn as he reportedly declared himself a god, demanded worship, and even appointed his horse as a consul. His erratic behavior and brutal purges of political enemies left Rome in a state of fear and instability, raising questions about the dangers of unchecked power. Then there was Nero, the emperor whose artistic ambitions overshadowed his political responsibilities. Nero fancied himself a gifted performer, often taking to the stage to sing and act, much to the dismay of the Roman elite. His obsession with the arts reached such heights that he allegedly set fire to Rome in 64 AD to clear space for a grand new palace, though this claim remains debated. Nero's reign ended in chaos, with his extravagance and tyranny leading to widespread rebellion and his eventual suicide. Commodus, another infamous emperor, took his love for gladiatorial combat to extremes. Unlike his predecessors, who viewed the games as a tool for public entertainment, Commodus saw himself as a gladiator, often fighting in the arena to the shock of Roman society. His obsession with spectacle and his disregard for governance weakened the empire, contributing to political instability and economic decline. These emperors and others like them reveal how personal flaws and unchecked ambition could destabilize an entire empire. Their reigns were marked by extravagance, cruelty, and a disconnect from the realities of governance, leaving Rome vulnerable to internal strife and external threats. As we move forward, the next secret will uncover yet another layer of Rome's hidden history, shedding light on the empire's complex and often unsettling legacy. Now turning to the eighth dark secret of ancient Rome, we descend into the shadowy depths of the hidden catacombs, a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers that served as both burial grounds and sanctuaries for early Christians. These underground networks, carved out of soft volcanic rock, were more than just resting places for the dead. They were also sites of clandestine worship during times of intense persecution. The catacombs stretched for miles beneath the city, with narrow passageways lined with niches where bodies were laid to rest. Families and communities would gather here to honor their loved ones, but for Christians, these spaces held even greater significance. At a time when practicing Christianity was punishable by death, the catacombs became a refuge where believers could safely gather, pray, and celebrate their faith away from the prying eyes of Roman authorities. What makes these catacombs truly remarkable is the art that adorns their walls. Early Christians used symbols and frescoes to express their beliefs, often blending Roman artistic styles with Christian themes. Images of fish, doves, and the Good Shepherd served as coded messages of faith, while scenes from the Bible, such as Jonah and the whale or the raising of Lazarus, offered hope and inspiration to those who visited. These artworks not only preserved the stories of the faith, but also provided a glimpse into the lives and struggles of Rome's earliest Christian communities. The catacombs also played a crucial role in preserving early Christian history. As the faith grew and eventually gained acceptance, these underground spaces became pilgrimage sites, drawing visitors who sought to connect with the martyrs and saints buried within. Over time, the catacombs fell into obscurity, only to be rediscovered centuries later, offering modern historians and archaeologists invaluable insights into the origins of Christianity. As we move forward, the next secret will take us deeper into the mysteries of ancient Rome, revealing yet another layer of its complex and often hidden past. Now turning to the ninth dark secret of ancient Rome, we step into the shadowy realm of Roman magic, a world where spells, curses, and superstitions were woven into the fabric of daily life. Magic in ancient Rome was not just the stuff of myths or whispered tales. It was a tangible force that people both feared and relied upon, from the poorest laborers to the most powerful elites. At the heart of Roman magic were the practitioners known as magi, who claimed the ability to manipulate the unseen forces of the world. These individuals offered services ranging from love spells to protective charms, often using a mix of herbs, incantations, and ritual objects. One of the most common forms of magic was the creation of amulets, small objects believed to ward off evil or bring good fortune. These amulets, often inscribed with symbols or words of power, were worn by people of all ages and social classes, a testament to the widespread belief in their efficacy. But magic in Rome was not always benign. Curses, known as depictions, were a darker side of this practice. These curses, often written on lead tablets, were intended to bring harm to enemies, whether in matters of love, business, or politics. The tablets would be buried in graves, thrown into wells, or hidden in places believed to amplify their power. Archaeologists have uncovered countless examples of these curses, each one a chilling reminder of the lengths to which Romans would go to seek revenge or gain an advantage. Interestingly, magic was not confined to the fringes of society. Even the elite, including emperors and senators, dabbled in the occult. Emperor Nero, for instance, was said to have consulted magicians and astrologers to secure his power and eliminate rivals. This intersection of magic and politics highlights how deeply ingrained these practices were in Roman culture, blurring the lines between religion, superstition, and daily life. Magic also intersected with Roman religion in complex ways. While official religious practices were highly structured and state-sanctioned, magic offered a more personal and immediate connection to the divine. Many Romans saw no contradiction in participating in public religious ceremonies while also seeking the help of a magus for private matters. This duality reveals the pragmatic nature of Roman spirituality, where the boundaries between the sacred and the supernatural were often fluid. As we move forward, the next secret will take us further into the enigmatic world of ancient Rome, uncovering yet another layer of its hidden and often unsettling history. Now turning to the 10th dark secret of ancient Rome, we enter the heart of its most iconic structure, the Colosseum. While gladiatorial combat is often the first image that comes to mind, the Colosseum was a stage for far more than just sword fights. It was a place where the empire's darkest and most brutal spectacles unfolded, designed to awe, terrify, and control the masses. Beyond the gladiators, the Colosseum hosted venations or animal hunts, where exotic beasts from across the empire were pitted against each other or against human hunters. These hunts were not just displays of skill but also of imperial power, showcasing Rome's ability to dominate the natural world. Lions, tigers, elephants, and even giraffes were brought to the arena, often to be slaughtered in elaborate and gruesome displays. The sheer scale of these events was staggering, with some games featuring the killing of thousands of animals in a single day, but the violence did not stop there. The Colosseum was also a site of public executions, where criminals, prisoners of war, and even Christians were put to death in horrifying ways. Some were crucified, others burned alive, and some were forced to reenact mythological tales, often ending in their brutal demise. These executions were not merely punishments, they were spectacles meant to reinforce the authority of the state and deter dissent. The message was clear: defy Rome, and this could be your fate. Perhaps one of the most astonishing uses of the Colosseum was for naumatia, or mock naval battles. The arena could be flooded with water, allowing for the staging of elaborate sea battles complete with ships and combatants. These events were not only logistically impressive but also served as a reminder of Rome's naval dominance and its ability to recreate the grandeur of its military victories for public consumption. The psychological impact of these spectacles on the Roman populace cannot be overstated. For the average citizen, the Colosseum was a place of both entertainment and terror. The thrill of watching life and death struggles was tempered by the underlying message of imperial power and the fragility of human life. These events were carefully orchestrated to keep the people both entertained and submissive, a reminder of the emperor's control over life and death. Politically, the Colosseum was a tool of propaganda. Emperors used these spectacles to curry favor with the masses, offering free admission and lavish displays to distract from the hardships of daily life. The games were a way to demonstrate the emperor's generosity and strength, reinforcing his legitimacy and quelling potential unrest. In this way, the Colosseum was not just a venue for entertainment but a cornerstone of Roman political strategy. As we move forward, the next secret will take us deeper into the shadows of ancient Rome, revealing yet another layer of its complex and often disturbing history. Now turning to the 11th dark secret of ancient Rome, we uncover the shadowy world of the Frumentarii, Rome's secret police. These agents, originally tasked with overseeing the grain supply, were repurposed into a covert network of spies, enforcers, and assassins. Their mission was simple yet chilling: to maintain imperial control by any means necessary. Operating in the shadows, the Frumentarii infiltrated every level of Roman society. They spied on citizens, monitored political rivals, and suppressed dissent with ruthless efficiency. No one was safe from their watchful eyes, not even the elite. Senators, merchants, and ordinary citizens alike lived in fear of being reported for disloyalty or treason. The Frumentarii were the emperor's eyes and ears, ensuring that any whisper of rebellion was swiftly silenced. Their methods were as varied as they were brutal. They intercepted letters, planted informants, and even carried out assassinations under the cover of darkness. The Frumentarii were not bound by the law. They were the law, acting with impunity to protect the emperor's interests. Their presence created an atmosphere of paranoia, where trust was a luxury few could afford. The Frumentarii also played a key role in maintaining Rome's vast empire. They were deployed to distant provinces to quell uprisings, gather intelligence, and eliminate threats before they could spread. Their work ensured that the emperor's grip on power remained unchallenged, even in the farthest corners of the empire. But the Frumentarii were not just tools of oppression, they were also symbols of the emperor's authority. Their very existence sent a clear message: defy Rome, and you would face not just the legions but an invisible force that could strike at any moment. This pervasive fear kept the populace in line, reinforcing the emperor's dominance and the stability of the empire. As we move forward, the next secret will take us deeper into the hidden mechanisms of Roman power, revealing yet another layer of its complex and often unsettling history. Now turning to the 12th dark secret of ancient Rome, we delve into the tantalizing legends of Rome's lost treasures. Throughout its history, Rome amassed unimaginable wealth, from the spoils of conquered lands to the personal riches of its emperors. Yet many of these treasures vanished without a trace, leaving behind a legacy of mystery and intrigue that continues to captivate historians and treasure hunters alike. One of the most famous lost treasures is the spoils of Jerusalem's temple, looted by Emperor Titus during the sack of Jerusalem in the year 70. The golden menorah, sacred scrolls, and other priceless artifacts were paraded through Rome in a grand triumph, only to disappear centuries later. Some believe these treasures were hidden away during the fall of Rome, while others speculate they were melted down or lost to time. To this day, their fate remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. The emperors themselves were no strangers to hoarding wealth. Nero, known for his extravagance, reportedly filled his palace with gold, jewels, and rare artworks. When his reign ended in chaos, much of his treasure vanished, fueling rumors of hidden vaults and secret caches. Similarly, the fabled riches of emperors like Caligula and Commodus have inspired countless searches, yet their locations remain elusive. Archaeological discoveries have offered glimpses into Rome's lost wealth. In recent years, excavations have uncovered hoards of coins, jewelry, and artifacts buried during times of crisis. These finds hint at the vast treasures that once existed, but they also raise more questions than answers. Where did the rest of the wealth go? Were they hidden by their owners, stolen by invaders, or simply lost to the ages? The search for Rome's lost treasures continues to this day, driven by a mix of historical curiosity and the allure of untold riches. From ancient texts to modern technology, treasure hunters employ every tool at their disposal to uncover these legendary hoards. Yet, the secrets of Rome's wealth remain stubbornly hidden, a testament to the empire's enduring mystique. As we move forward, the next secret will take us deeper into the hidden mechanisms of Roman power, revealing yet another layer of its complex and often unsettling history. Now turning to the 13th dark secret of ancient Rome, we uncover the often brutal and experimental world of Roman medicine. While the Romans are celebrated for their advancements in engineering and governance, their approach to medicine reveals a darker, more unsettling side of their civilization. From surgeries performed without anesthesia to the widespread use of toxic substances like lead, Roman medical practices were as perilous as they were innovative. One of the most striking aspects of Roman medicine was its reliance on trial and error. Surgeons, often trained on the battlefield, performed complex procedures with rudimentary tools and no pain relief. Patients endured excruciating pain during operations, from amputations to trepanation, the drilling of holes into the skull. While some survived these ordeals, many did not, and the line between healer and harm-doer was often blurred. The Romans also had a troubling fascination with dangerous substances. Lead, a toxic metal, was used extensively in everyday life, from cosmetics to cookware and even in medicine. Physicians prescribed lead-based remedies for ailments ranging from headaches to digestive issues, unaware of the long-term damage it caused. This widespread exposure to lead likely contributed to chronic illnesses and even death among the Roman population. Yet, amidst these grim practices, there were figures who made significant contributions to medical knowledge. Galen, one of Rome's most famous physicians, revolutionized the understanding of anatomy and physiology. His experiments on animals and observations of gladiatorial injuries provided valuable insights into the human body. However, his work also raised ethical questions, as his methods often involved dissection and experimentation that would be considered inhumane by modern standards. The dark side of Roman medicine forces us to confront the ethical dilemmas of progress. While their innovations laid the groundwork for modern medical science, the cost in human suffering was immense. As we reflect on this chapter of Roman history, we are reminded of the delicate balance between advancement and morality, a lesson that resonates even today. With the next phase of the journey in sight, we prepare to explore another hidden facet of Roman society, one that reveals the empire's complex relationship with power and secrecy. Now turning to the 14th dark secret of ancient Rome, we delve into the shadowy world of secret societies and brotherhoods that thrived beneath the surface of Roman society. These clandestine groups, such as the Caligula, operated outside the official channels of power, wielding influence in ways that often went unnoticed by the public eye. While Rome is often remembered for its grand institutions and public spectacles, these secret societies reveal a hidden layer of intrigue and manipulation that shaped the empire in profound ways. The Caligula, for instance, were associations of individuals bound by common professions, religious beliefs, or social interests. On the surface, they appeared to be harmless guilds or clubs, but beneath this facade, they often served as networks for political maneuvering and economic control. Some Caligula were known to support specific candidates for public office, while others engaged in activities that challenged the authority of the state. Their ability to organize and mobilize made them a force to be reckoned with, even if their actions were conducted in the shadows. Religion also played a significant role in the activities of these secret societies. Many groups were dedicated to the worship of specific deities, often in ways that diverged from the official state religion. These practices, sometimes involving rituals and ceremonies kept hidden from the public, allowed members to forge deep bonds and shared identities. However, this secrecy also made them targets of suspicion, particularly when their activities were perceived as a threat to the established order. The infamous Bacchanalia, which we explored earlier, is a prime example of how secretive religious practices could lead to widespread fear and eventual suppression by the state. The influence of these societies extended into daily life as well. For ordinary Romans, membership in a collegia or similar group could provide a sense of belonging, economic support, and even protection. Yet, this came at a cost. Loyalty to the group often superseded loyalty to the state, creating tensions that occasionally erupted into open conflict. The Roman authorities, ever wary of any challenge to their power, kept a close watch on these organizations, sometimes intervening with force to maintain control. As we uncover the hidden workings of these secret societies, we gain a deeper understanding of the complexities of Roman life. They remind us that even in a civilization as structured and public as Rome, there were always undercurrents of secrecy and resistance. With the next phase of our journey in sight, we prepare to explore another layer of Rome's dark legacy, one that reveals the empire's relentless drive for conquest and the profound consequences it had on the world. Now turning to the 15th dark secret of ancient Rome, we confront the empire's relentless drive for conquest and the profound, often devastating impact it had on the peoples it subjugated. Rome's expansionist policies were not merely about territorial gain. They were a calculated effort to dominate, exploit, and reshape the world in its image. The legacy of these conquests is one of immense suffering, cultural destruction, and long-term consequences that echo through history. At the heart of Roman conquest was the practice of mass enslavement. Entire populations were uprooted from their homelands and forced into servitude, their lives reduced to mere commodities. The scale of this exploitation was staggering. Enslaved individuals were put to work in mines, fields, and households, enduring brutal conditions that often led to early death. This system of slavery was not just an economic engine for Rome. It was a tool of terror designed to crush resistance and assert dominance over conquered lands. But the impact of Roman conquest went far beyond enslavement. The empire sought to erase the cultural identities of the peoples it conquered, imposing its language, laws, and customs in a deliberate effort to Romanize them. Temples were destroyed, local traditions suppressed, and indigenous leaders replaced with Roman officials. This cultural erasure was not just about control, it was about creating a unified empire where loyalty to Rome overshadowed all other allegiances. For many conquered peoples, this meant the loss of their heritage, their stories, and their sense of self. The long-term consequences of these policies were profound. In some regions, the Roman influence became so deeply ingrained that it shaped the course of history for centuries to come. Yet, in others, the scars of conquest never fully healed. The resentment and trauma inflicted by Rome's expansionist policies fueled rebellions and resistance movements, some of which succeeded in reclaiming independence, while others were brutally crushed. The legacy of these struggles is a reminder of the human cost of empire building, a cost that was paid not by the conquerors but by the conquered. As we reflect on the dark legacy of Roman conquest, we are reminded that the grandeur of Rome was built on the suffering of countless individuals and communities. It is a sobering lesson in the complexities of history, one that challenges us to consider the true cost of power and domination. With the next phase of our journey in sight, we prepare to uncover another layer of Rome's hidden history, one that reveals the symbolic and often subversive messages embedded in its art and architecture. Now turning to the 16th dark secret of ancient Rome, we delve into the world of art and architecture, where beauty and meaning often conceal deeper, more subversive messages. Roman art was not merely decorative, it was a powerful tool of communication, used to convey political propaganda, religious beliefs, and social commentary. Behind the grandeur of statues, mosaics, and frescoes lay a complex language of symbols and allegories, designed to influence public perception and reinforce the empire's ideals. One of the most striking examples of this is the use of art to glorify emperors and their achievements. Statues of rulers were not just portraits, they were carefully crafted to project power, authority, and divine favor. Augustus, for instance, was often depicted in a youthful, idealized form, symbolizing his role as the bringer of peace and stability. These images were disseminated across the empire, serving as constant reminders of Rome's dominance and the emperor's godlike status. But beneath the surface, these representations also carried subtle messages about loyalty, obedience, and the consequences of dissent. Religious themes were another common feature of Roman art, often intertwined with political motives. Temples and public spaces were adorned with scenes depicting gods and goddesses, but these images were not just expressions of faith. They were also tools of control, designed to reinforce the idea that Rome's success was divinely ordained. The depiction of Jupiter, for example, was not just a religious symbol. It was a reminder of the emperor's connection to the gods and his right to rule. Even in private homes, mosaics and frescoes often included religious imagery, subtly reminding inhabitants of their place within the divine and social order. But Roman art was not always about reinforcing the status quo. In some cases, it served as a medium for social commentary, subtly critiquing the inequalities and injustices of Roman society. Satirical scenes in mosaics and graffiti on walls reveal a world where the elite were mocked and the struggles of the poor were laid bare. These works, often created by anonymous artists, provide a rare glimpse into the voices of those who had little power but much to say. They remind us that even in a society as rigidly hierarchical as Rome's, there were those who dared to challenge the narrative. As we uncover the hidden messages in Roman art, we gain a deeper understanding of how the empire used visual culture to shape beliefs, control behavior, and maintain its grip on power. But we also see glimpses of resistance, of voices that refused to be silenced. With the next phase of our journey in sight, we prepare to explore the darker aspects of Roman religion, where rituals and beliefs reveal a world of omens, sacrifices, and political manipulation. Now turning to the 17th dark secret of ancient Rome, we step into the shadowy realm of Roman religion, where faith and fear intertwined in ways that often defied modern understanding. While Roman religion is often remembered for its grand temples and pantheon of gods, there was a darker, more unsettling side to these practices, one that involved human sacrifice, omens, and the calculated use of religion to maintain political power. At the heart of Roman religion was the belief in the pax deorum, or the peace of the gods. This concept held that the favor of the gods was essential for the prosperity and survival of Rome. To maintain this favor, Romans performed rituals, sacrifices, and ceremonies, often led by priests and priestesses who held significant influence, but not all of these rituals were benign. In times of crisis, such as war or plague, the Romans sometimes turned to extreme measures, including human sacrifice. While such practices were rare and often condemned by later Roman writers, they reveal a society willing to go to terrifying lengths to secure divine approval. Omens and divination were also central to Roman religious life. Priests known as augurs interpreted the will of the gods by observing natural phenomena, such as the flight patterns of birds or the entrails of sacrificed animals. These omens were taken seriously, often influencing major decisions, from military campaigns to political appointments. However, the interpretation of omens was not always straightforward. Politicians and emperors frequently manipulated these signs to justify their actions, using religion as a tool to legitimize their authority and silence opposition. For example, an unfavorable omen could be dismissed as misinterpreted, while a favorable one could be exaggerated to rally public support. the tension between traditional Roman religion and emerging cults added another layer of complexity. As Rome expanded its empire, it encountered a variety of foreign religions and cults, some of which gained popularity among the Roman people. Cults dedicated to gods like Isis, Mithras, and later Christianity offered new spiritual experiences and a sense of community that traditional Roman religion often lacked. However, these new beliefs also posed a threat to the established order. The Roman state viewed them with suspicion, fearing they could undermine loyalty to the empire and its gods. This led to periods of persecution, particularly against Christians, who were seen as subversive for refusing to worship the emperor or participate in state rituals. Yet, even within traditional Roman religion, there were practices that blurred the line between devotion and exploitation. The Vestal Virgins, for instance, were priestesses tasked with maintaining the sacred fire of Vesta, the goddess of the hearth. While they were revered for their purity and dedication, their lives were also tightly controlled, and any perceived failure could result in severe punishment, including being buried alive. This highlights the darker side of Roman religious devotion, where the demands of the gods often came at a high human cost. As we uncover the dark side of Roman religion, we see a world where faith was both a source of comfort and a tool of control. The manipulation of religious practices for political gain, the fear of divine retribution, and the suppression of new beliefs all reveal a society grappling with the complexities of power and spirituality. With the next phase of our journey in sight, we prepare to explore the hidden lives of Roman women, whose roles and struggles offer a fascinating glimpse into the private world of ancient Rome. Now turning to the 18th dark secret of ancient Rome, we delve into the hidden lives of Roman women, a world where power and oppression often walked hand in hand. While the grand narratives of Rome often focus on its emperors, generals, and gladiators, the lives of women, whether empresses, priestesses, or ordinary citizens, reveal a complex tapestry of resilience, ambition, and struggle. At the pinnacle of Roman society were women like Livia, the wife of Emperor Augustus, who wielded immense influence behind the scenes. Livia was not just a wife and mother, she was a political strategist, advisor, and a key player in shaping the future of the empire. Her ability to navigate the treacherous waters of Roman politics, often through manipulation and alliances, demonstrates how some women found ways to exert power in a society that officially denied them a public role. Yet, even for women like Livia, their influence was always precarious, dependent on their relationships with powerful men, and subject to the whims of public opinion. For most Roman women, however, life was far less glamorous. Roman society was deeply patriarchal, with women legally and socially subordinate to men. From birth, a Roman girl was under the control of her father, and upon marriage, that authority transferred to her husband. Women had limited legal rights, could not vote or hold public office, and were often confined to the domestic sphere. Their primary roles were as wives, mothers, and guardians of the household. Yet, even within these constraints, Roman women found ways to assert their agency. They managed households, oversaw the education of their children, and sometimes even ran businesses, particularly in the absence of male relatives. Religion offered another avenue for women to gain influence. The Vestal Virgins, for example, were among the most respected figures in Roman society. As priestesses of Vesta, they enjoyed privileges and freedoms denied to most women, including the ability to own property and make legal decisions. However, their elevated status came at a cost. Vestals were required to remain chaste for 30 years, and any violation of their vows was punishable by death. This duality of reverence and restriction highlights the complex position of women in Roman religious life. Ordinary women, too, faced significant challenges. Lower-class women often worked alongside men in trades, markets, and workshops, contributing to the family income. Yet, they were also vulnerable to exploitation. particularly in the form of slavery or forced labor. Even free women of modest means had to navigate a society that valued them primarily for their ability to bear children and maintain the household. The pressure to produce heirs, especially sons, was immense, and failure to do so could lead to social ostracism or divorce. Despite these constraints, Roman women found ways to push back against societal expectations. Some used their dowries to gain financial independence, while others formed networks of female solidarity, supporting each other in times of need. Wealthy women, in particular, could use their resources to fund public works, sponsor religious festivals, or even commission art and literature, leaving a lasting legacy that defied the limitations placed on them. As we uncover the secret lives of Roman women, we see a society where gender roles were rigidly defined, yet constantly challenged. From the corridors of imperial power to the humble homes of ordinary citizens, women navigated a world that sought to confine them, yet they found ways to shape their destinies. With the next phase of our journey in sight, we prepare to explore the dark side of Roman engineering, where the marvels of aqueducts and roads came at a steep human and environmental cost. Now turning to the 19th dark secret of ancient Rome, we uncover the hidden costs behind the empire's legendary engineering feats. While Rome's aqueducts, roads, and monumental architecture are often celebrated as symbols of its ingenuity and power, the reality is that these marvels came at a steep human and environmental price. Behind the grandeur lay a system built on exploitation, suffering, and ecological destruction. The aqueducts, for instance, were engineering masterpieces that brought fresh water to cities, enabling Rome to sustain its growing population and flourish. But the labor required to build these structures was grueling and often deadly. Thousands of enslaved workers, prisoners of war, and forced laborers toiled under harsh conditions, carving tunnels through mountains, laying miles of stone channels, and constructing towering arches. Many of these workers perished from exhaustion, injury, or disease, their lives sacrificed to fuel Rome's thirst for progress. Similarly, the vast network of Roman roads, which connected the empire and facilitated trade, military movement, and communication, was built on the backs of exploited labor. These roads were not just pathways of stone, they were monuments to human suffering. Enslaved workers quarried stone, cleared forests, and leveled terrain, often working in dangerous and inhumane conditions. The roads themselves, while a testament to Roman engineering, also served as tools of conquest and control, enabling the empire to expand its reach and subjugate distant peoples. The environmental impact of Roman engineering was equally devastating. Forests were cleared to provide timber for construction and fuel for kilns, leading to deforestation and soil erosion. Rivers were diverted to supply water for aqueducts, disrupting ecosystems and altering landscapes. Mines, which supplied the metals needed for tools, weapons, and infrastructure, scarred the earth and polluted waterways with toxic runoff. The pursuit of progress came at the expense of the natural world, leaving a legacy of ecological damage that would take centuries to heal. Even the materials used in Roman construction carried a dark history. The famous Roman concrete, for example, was made with volcanic ash, lime, and seawater, creating a durable and long-lasting material. But the lime used in its production was often extracted by enslaved workers in hazardous conditions, and the transportation of materials relied on the labor of countless others. The very stones that built Rome's temples, amphitheaters, and baths were often quarried by those who had no share in the glory they represented. As we examine the dark side of Roman engineering, we are reminded that progress often comes at a cost. The achievements of ancient Rome were built on the suffering of countless individuals and the exploitation of the natural world. These marvels, while awe-inspiring, also serve as a cautionary tale about the ethical and environmental consequences of unchecked ambition. With the next phase of our journey in sight, we prepare to explore the hidden messages in Roman art, where symbolism and subversion reveal yet another layer of Rome's complex history. Now turning to the 20th dark secret of ancient Rome, we delve into the hidden world of Roman literature, where words were more than just stories, they were weapons of critique, rebellion, and subversion. Behind the poetic verses and epic tales lay secret codes, allegories, and biting satire that allowed authors to challenge authority, expose corruption, and comment on the societal issues of their time without directly provoking the wrath of emperors or the elite. Take, for example, the works of Virgil, one of Rome's most celebrated poets. On the surface, his epic poem, the Aeneid, tells the story of Aeneas, a Trojan hero destined to found Rome. But beneath its heroic narrative, the Aeneid is filled with subtle critiques of Augustus' rule and the cost of empire building. Virgil's portrayal of Aeneas' struggles and sacrifices can be read as a reflection on the human toll of Rome's expansion and the moral compromises required to maintain power. The poem's ambiguous ending, where Aeneas kills his rival Turnus in a fit of rage, leaves readers questioning whether Rome's founding was truly a triumph or a tragedy. Then there's Juvenal, the master of Roman satire, whose sharp wit and biting humor exposed the hypocrisy and decadence of Roman society. In his satires, Juvenal takes aim at everything from corrupt politicians to greedy elites, using exaggerated characters and absurd scenarios to highlight the moral decay of his time. His famous line, "Who will guard the gods themselves?" remains a timeless critique of unchecked power and corruption. Juvenal's works were not just entertainment, they were a mirror held up to Roman society, forcing readers to confront uncomfortable truths about their world. Even Ovid, known for his playful and romantic poetry, found himself entangled in the political undercurrents of Rome. His Metamorphoses, a collection of mythological tales, is filled with stories of transformation and rebellion, subtly commenting on the instability and unpredictability of power. Ovid's exile by Emperor Augustus, likely due to the subversive nature of his work, serves as a stark reminder of the dangers faced by those who dared to challenge the status quo through their writing. Roman literature was also a space for marginalized voices to make their mark. While much of what survives was written by elite men, there are glimpses of women and enslaved individuals who used poetry and prose to express their experiences and perspectives. The works of Sulpicia, one of the few female poets whose writing has survived, offer a rare insight into the lives and emotions of Roman women, challenging the male-dominated narratives of her time. As we uncover the secret codes of Roman literature, we see how these works were not just art but also tools of resistance and reflection. Through allegory, satire, and symbolism, Roman authors navigated the dangerous waters of censorship and repression, leaving behind a legacy of words that continue to resonate with readers today. With the next phase of our journey in sight, we prepare to explore the dark side of Roman law, where justice and inequality reveal yet another layer of Rome's complex history. Now turning to the 21st dark secret of ancient Rome, we uncover the harsh realities of Roman law, a system that was as much about maintaining power as it was about justice. While Rome is often celebrated for its legal innovations, such as the 12 Tables and the concept of innocent until proven guilty, the darker side of its legal system reveals a world of inequality, exploitation, and brutality. At its core, Roman law was designed to protect the interests of the elite. The wealthy and powerful enjoyed privileges that were denied to the poor and enslaved. For example, while citizens had the right to a fair trial, non-citizens and enslaved individuals were often subjected to summary judgments and harsh punishments without due process. The law also reinforced social hierarchies, with penalties varying drastically depending on one's status. A wealthy patrician might receive a fine for a crime that would earn a plebeian or enslaved person a death sentence. One of the most infamous aspects of Roman law was its treatment of criminals. Public executions, crucifixions, and gladiatorial combat were not just punishments but spectacles designed to instill fear and obedience in the population. The condemned were often paraded through the streets before their execution, serving as a grim reminder of the consequences of defying Roman authority. Even minor offenses could result in severe penalties, particularly for those at the bottom of the social ladder. The exploitation of the poor was another dark facet of Roman law. Debt bondage, for instance, allowed creditors to enslave those who could not repay their debts, trapping them in a cycle of poverty and servitude. The legal system also favored landowners over tenant farmers, who were often evicted or exploited with little recourse. Laws designed to protect property rights frequently prioritized the interests of the wealthy, leaving the vulnerable with few protections. Roman law also played a crucial role in maintaining social order and inequality. The legal system was used to suppress dissent and control the masses. Laws against treason, for example, were often vague and broadly interpreted, allowing emperors to eliminate political rivals or silence critics under the guise of justice. The infamous lex majestatis, or law of treason, was a tool of oppression used to punish anyone perceived as a threat to the state. Yet, even within this oppressive system, there were moments of resistance and reform. Figures like the Gracchi brothers sought to address the inequalities of Roman law, advocating for land redistribution and protections for the poor. While their efforts ultimately led to their deaths, they highlighted the deep-seated injustices within the legal system and inspired future generations to challenge the status quo. As we peel back the layers of Roman law, we see a system that was both a foundation of order and a tool of oppression. It reveals the duality of Rome's legal legacy, a framework that inspired modern legal principles but also perpetuated inequality and cruelty. With the next phase of our journey in sight, we prepare to explore the secret rituals of Roman funerals, where the treatment of the dead offers yet another glimpse into the complexities of Roman society. Now turning to the 22nd dark secret of ancient Rome, we delve into the elaborate and often macabre rituals surrounding Roman funerals. These ceremonies were not just about honoring the dead, but also about reinforcing social hierarchies and beliefs about the afterlife. For the Romans, death was a public affair, and funerals were grand spectacles designed to display the status and legacy of the deceased. At the heart of Roman funeral rituals was the belief in an afterlife. The Romans believed that the dead required proper burial rites to ensure their passage to the underworld. Without these rituals, the deceased might become restless spirits haunting the living. This belief led to the creation of elaborate ceremonies, from the preparation of the body to the final procession and burial. The wealthier the family, the more extravagant the funeral, with some including public displays of mourning, professional mourners, and even gladiatorial games in honor of the deceased. Professional mourners, known as praefeci, played a significant role in Roman funerals. These hired individuals, often women, would wail, tear their hair, and beat their chests to express grief on behalf of the family. Their dramatic performances were meant to amplify the sorrow of the occasion and demonstrate the family's wealth and status. The more mourners a family could afford, the more prestigious the funeral appeared. The funeral procession itself was a spectacle. The body, dressed in fine clothing and adorned with jewelry, was carried through the streets on a bier, accompanied by musicians, mourners, and sometimes even actors wearing masks representing the ancestors of the deceased. This practice, known as the imagines, served to remind onlookers of the family's lineage and achievements. For the elite, these processions were opportunities to showcase their power and influence, while for the poor, funerals were often simple and private affairs. The treatment of the dead also reflected the inequalities of Roman society. Wealthy Romans were buried in elaborate tombs or mausoleums, often inscribed with their accomplishments and virtues. Some even had their ashes placed in ornate urns, while others were interred in family crypts. In contrast, the poor and enslaved were often buried in mass graves or unmarked plots, their lives and deaths forgotten by history. Roman funerals also included rituals to ensure the dead did not return to haunt the living. Offerings of food, wine, and other items were made at the gravesite, and the deceased's name was invoked to keep their memory alive. These practices highlight the Romans' deep-seated fear of the dead and their desire to maintain a connection with the afterlife. As we uncover the secrets of Roman funeral rituals, we see a society deeply concerned with legacy, status, and the mysteries of death. These ceremonies reveal not only the Romans' beliefs about the afterlife, but also the stark contrasts between the lives of the rich and the poor. With the next phase of our journey in sight, we prepare to explore the dark side of Roman trade, where exploitation and corruption shaped one of history's most powerful empires. Now turning to the 23rd dark secret of ancient Rome, we uncover the shadowy underbelly of Roman trade, a system built on exploitation, corruption, and inequality. Rome's vast trade network stretched across the Mediterranean and beyond, connecting distant lands and bringing immense wealth to the empire. But behind this prosperity lay a darker reality, where the pursuit of profit often came at the expense of human dignity and justice. At the heart of Roman trade was the slave trade, one of the most brutal and dehumanizing aspects of the empire's economy. Slaves were not just laborers but commodities bought and sold in markets like any other goods. Many of these enslaved individuals were prisoners of war, captured during Rome's relentless campaigns of conquest. Others were born into slavery, their lives predetermined by the circumstances of their birth. The demand for slaves was insatiable, fueling a thriving black market where human lives were traded for profit. The exploitation extended beyond the slave trade. Roman merchants and traders often engaged in corrupt practices, manipulating markets and exploiting conquered regions for their own gain. Taxes and tariffs were imposed on goods from these regions, enriching Rome while impoverishing local populations. The empire's economic policies favored the elite, creating stark inequalities between the wealthy and the poor. For many in the provinces, Roman trade was not a source of opportunity but a system of oppression. One of the most notorious examples of exploitation was the grain trade. Rome relied heavily on imported grain to feed its massive population, much of it coming from Egypt and North Africa. While the grain trade ensured the city's survival, it also placed immense strain on the regions that produced it. Farmers in these areas were often forced to grow grain at the expense of other crops, leading to food shortages and economic instability. The profits from this trade flowed back to Rome, leaving little for the people who toiled to produce it. The black market thrived in this environment of inequality and corruption. Smuggling, bribery, and fraud were rampant, with traders often evading taxes and regulations to maximize their profits. Luxury goods such as silk, spices, and precious metals were particularly lucrative, but their trade was often controlled by powerful cartels and corrupt officials. For the average Roman, these goods were out of reach, symbols of a system that favored the wealthy and powerful. The impact of Roman trade on conquered regions was profound. While the empire brought infrastructure such as roads and ports to these areas, it also stripped them of their resources and autonomy. Local economies were disrupted, and traditional ways of life were often destroyed. The wealth extracted from these regions fueled Rome's grandeur, but it came at a high cost to the people who lived there. As we explore the dark side of Roman trade, we see a system that was as much about exploitation as it was about commerce. The empire's economic success was built on the backs of the enslaved, the poor, and the conquered, revealing the stark inequalities that underpinned Roman society. With the next phase of our journey in sight, we prepare to uncover the often harsh realities of childhood in ancient Rome, where societal expectations and challenges shaped the lives of the youngest members of this powerful empire. Now turning to the 24th dark secret of ancient Rome, we delve into the often overlooked lives of Roman children, whose experiences were shaped by rigid societal expectations and the harsh realities of their time. Childhood in ancient Rome was far from the carefree ideal we might imagine today. From the moment they were born, children were thrust into a world where their roles and futures were largely predetermined by their family's social status and the demands of Roman society. For the children of the elite, life was a mix of privilege and pressure. Education was highly valued, but it was also a rigorous and demanding process. Boys from wealthy families were taught to read, write, and speak Greek and Latin, preparing them for careers in politics, law, or the military. Girls, on the other hand, were often educated at home, learning skills like weaving and household management to prepare them for their future roles as wives and mothers. While these children enjoyed opportunities that others did not, they also faced immense pressure to uphold their family's reputation and contribute to its legacy. For the majority of Roman children, however, life was far more challenging. Many were born into poverty, and their childhoods were cut short by the need to contribute to their family's survival. Boys as young as 7 or 8 were often sent to work as apprentices, learning trades like blacksmithing, carpentry, or farming. Girls were expected to help with domestic chores and care for younger siblings, their lives revolving around the needs of their households. For these children, education was a luxury they could rarely afford, and their futures were often limited by their circumstances. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of Roman childhood was the practice of infant exposure, where unwanted or sickly newborns were abandoned to die. This was particularly common among families who could not afford to raise another child or who preferred male heirs. While some of these infants were rescued and raised as slaves, many perished, a stark reminder of the harsh realities faced by the most vulnerable members of Roman society. Even for those who survived infancy, life was not easy. Child labor was widespread, and many children worked long hours in dangerous conditions. In the countryside, they toiled in fields alongside their parents, while in the cities, they worked in workshops, markets, or even mines. The physical and emotional toll of such labor was immense, and many children suffered from malnutrition, illness, or injury. Despite these challenges, Roman children were not without moments of joy and play. Archaeological evidence suggests that children had toys like dolls, balls, and board games, and they likely found ways to enjoy their limited free time. Festivals and religious ceremonies also provided opportunities for celebration and community, offering a brief respite from the demands of daily life. As we uncover the secret lives of Roman children, we are reminded of the stark contrasts that defined their experiences. While some enjoyed the privileges of wealth and education, others faced hardship and exploitation from a young age. These children were not just passive participants in Roman society but active contributors, their lives shaped by the same forces that drove the empire's rise and fall. With the final chapter of our journey approaching, we prepare to explore the darker side of Roman entertainment, where the empire's obsession with spectacle revealed much about its values and priorities. Now turning to the 25th and final dark secret of ancient Rome, we uncover the empire's obsession with entertainment, a world where spectacle and brutality often went hand in hand. While the Colosseum is the most famous symbol of Roman entertainment, the darker side of this cultural phenomenon extended far beyond its walls. From chariot races to theatrical performances and public executions, the Romans' thirst for spectacle reveals much about their values, priorities, and the societal tensions that simmered beneath the surface. Chariot racing, one of the most popular forms of entertainment, was a high-stakes, high-speed affair that captivated audiences. Held in massive arenas like the Circus Maximus, these races were not just about sport but also about power, politics, and prestige. The charioteers, often slaves or freedmen, risked their lives for glory and the chance to win favor with the crowd. The races were fiercely competitive, with rival factions like the Blues and Greens fueling intense rivalries that sometimes spilled over into violence. For the spectators, the thrill of the race was intoxicating, but for the participants, it was a dangerous and often deadly pursuit. theater too had its darker side. While Roman plays could be comedic or dramatic, they often included elements of mockery, satire, and even violence. Performances sometimes featured real-life executions or reenactments of brutal events, blurring the line between art and reality. Actors, many of whom were slaves or low-status individuals, faced harsh conditions and little respect despite their talent. The theater was a place where societal norms could be challenged or reinforced, but it was also a space where the darker aspects of human nature were put on display. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of Roman entertainment was the use of public executions as a form of spectacle. Criminals, prisoners of war, and even slaves were often executed in front of large crowds, their deaths serving as both punishment and entertainment. These executions were sometimes staged as elaborate reenactments of mythological stories, with the condemned forced to play the roles of doomed characters. The audience's reaction to these events ranged from horror to glee, reflecting the complex and often contradictory nature of Roman society. The Romans' obsession with spectacle was not just about entertainment, it was also a tool for social control. By staging these events, the ruling elite could distract the populace from political and economic issues, reinforcing their authority and maintaining order. The spectacles also served as a reminder of the power of the state, with the lives of the condemned or the fate of the charioteers symbolizing the fragility of human existence in the face of imperial might. As we reflect on the dark side of Roman entertainment, we are confronted with a society that reveled in both the grandeur and the grotesque. The spectacles were a reflection of the empire's values, its contradictions, and its unrelenting pursuit of power. They remind us that entertainment, in all its forms, can be a mirror to the soul of a civilization, revealing both its brilliance and its shadows. With this final secret, our journey through the dark secrets of ancient Rome comes to an end, but the lessons of this remarkable empire continue to resonate, offering us a glimpse into the complexities of human history. Now turning to the conclusion of our journey through the dark secrets of ancient Rome, we find ourselves reflecting on a civilization that was as complex as it was powerful. From the infamous poisonings of emperors to the brutal spectacles of the Colosseum, each secret we've uncovered reveals a society that thrived on both grandeur and darkness. These stories remind us that history is not just a record of events but a mirror of human nature, filled with ambition, cruelty, ingenuity, and resilience. The duality of Roman society is striking. On one hand, they built an empire that shaped the course of Western civilization, leaving behind architectural marvels, legal systems, and cultural achievements that still influence us today. On the other hand, their pursuit of power often came at a devastating cost: enslaved populations, exploited resources, and a culture that glorified violence and spectacle. These contradictions force us to confront the uncomfortable truth that progress and oppression can coexist, even in the most celebrated societies. As we consider these 25 dark secrets, we are reminded that history is not just about the past, it is a lens through which we can better understand ourselves. The Romans' struggles with power, morality, and identity are not so different from the challenges we face today. Their story invites us to reflect on the choices we make as individuals and as a society, and to consider the legacy we wish to leave behind. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the shadows of ancient Rome. If you found this exploration fascinating, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive into history's most intriguing mysteries. We'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What surprised you the most about Rome's dark secrets? What lessons do you think we can learn from their story? Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep uncovering the hidden stories that shape our world.